I just have all of these things on there, they're flashing and blinking and beeping and all of these things, I think my camera dead. Camera getting real fresh, This thing always stopping, automatically stopped because you're running your mouth. So you know how Stella needed to get her groove back? Call me Stella. And I don't mean my neighbor's cat. Although she's pretty badass, she just don't give any f. So maybe I should be more like Stella. Starting at the end of October in 2019 until now has been a really crap time for me. End of October, my mom passed away from cancer. Pretty much right after my mom passed away, my lifetime best friend completely ghosted me for no reason. Don't know what I did, don't know what I said, don't know what happened. Just stopped talking to me altogether. March, I ended up having a stroke. March, we ended up starting our quarantine. The good thing that came from that is I started this show. Husband's grandmother, she passed away. And then progressively from there, just things got crappier and crappier and crappier. I had to turn down a job offer that could have potentially been fairly lucrative just because I wasn't willing to put myself at a health risk. And worst of all, I got bit by an ant. Oh, verdammt nochmal. Fast forward, we're at Christmas time. Yay, I'm supposed to be happy. Santa Claus is coming. Child, Santa is in quarantine. He don't want to come down the chimney, all you unmasked, nasty people. I think this year is just taking all of the out of me. I'm gonna turn that around. I'm trying to recenter myself. Well, guess who's back? And for me, doing that is going back to all the things that make me, me. Spices are one of those things. What you're trying to see is you're real spicy, eh? I just like a little spice in my life. Then I realized, 10 minutes before I hit record, while I was developing this recipe actually, I realized that this recipe, this cookie, is probably what sparked my love of spices. Aloha my kako, buen dia, servus, salud, salamu alaikum, namaste, and how you day, you nasties. So today, we are making ein German cookie, heißt Pfeffernüsse, aber gluten-free. I am going to do a gluten-free vegan Pfeffernüsse. I know it sounds like garbage, but I tasted the dough and it tasted good. The beauty of vegan dough is you can eat it. Doesn't matter, there's no eggs in it. There ain't no chicken butt nuggets up in here. I'm doing this for a couple of people in my life because for me, doing things for other people makes me feel good. Because my boss is a good boss, I've kind of developed this recipe with her in mind because she can't eat gluten. And because my sister-in-law and brother-in-law and my younger brother and sister are vegan. Well, my younger brother was, I don't know if he still is or whatever. For all the vegans in the world, this is for you. For all the gluten-free people in the world, this is for you. Hopefully you enjoy this. This is the first time I'm making this cookie. I completely developed this recipe like 10-15 minutes before I actually started this camera. So these could turn out amazing. They could turn out like hockey pucks. Maybe I can be the next Otis Spunkmeyer. Whose name is Spunkmeyer? Like, poor thing. Poor babies. Like Spunk. Having Spunk... Let's change the subject. I just need to stop telling stories and keep cooking because I'm gonna end up in jail. I'm gonna end up beat up. Shall we start with the ingredients? Follow me now. For the flour, we are going to use 1.5 cups of almond flour, 1/4 of a cup of tapioca flour, also called tapioca starch, 2 heaping teaspoons of coconut flour. Since we're not using any egg, we're going to use applesauce as our binder. So we have 3 tablespoons of applesauce. For the sweetener, I am using cane syrup, which I made from my own sugar cane. However, if you do not have access to cane syrup, you can use molasses or honey or even maple syrup. So you have 1/4 cup of this. For the fat, I am using 1/4 cup of almond oil. Now, this is something that I get from my local Indian market. If you do not have access to purchase this, you can use coconut oil and you want to use 1/4 cup. For the spices, I'm going to use a combination of whole and ground spices. Then I'm going to throw them all into a coffee grinder and grind them all together. I have 10 cloves, 1/2 teaspoon of anise seeds. I have 1/4 teaspoon each of black and white peppercorn. I have 3/4 of a teaspoon of ground ginger and a half a teaspoon of ground mace. I have 4 green cardamom pods, a half of a nutmeg, and I have a half of a stick of cinnamon. In addition to this, I do have a half a teaspoon of baking soda and a quarter of a teaspoon of salt. Now I'm just going to add in all my spices, including the ground, and grind it up. Now I'm going to go ahead and add my salt and baking powder and my coconut flour into here. Now this next part can completely be done inside of a stand mixer, but I want to put a little elbow grease into it. So let's start. We're gonna add our almond flour in, followed by our tapioca flour. And I'm just gonna give that a little mix. To this, I'm gonna add in my spice and coconut flour and add in our cane syrup or molasses, our applesauce, and last but not least, our almond oil or coconut oil. And then this is what our dough looks like. Take this, we're gonna wrap it in some cling film, and then we are going to let it rest in the refrigerator for 30 minutes. Okay, so the 30 minutes didn't work. We put it in longer. Even after another 30 minutes, it still wasn't quite as firm as I wanted it. So I dashed it in the freezer for about 25-30 minutes, and now it's a good firm consistency. The fun of R&D, eh? Research and development, or as I call it, research and development. So right before that dough is finished resting in that refrigerator over there, we want to go ahead and preheat our oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit or 177 degrees Celsius. Now what we want to do is we want to go ahead and put either parchment paper or put a silpat down on a cookie sheet, because we making cookies, eh? So we're going to take our chilled dough, and I'm just going to use a cookie scoop and scoop them out and put them on a silpat. So as you can see, we're just taking this dough and we're forming balls and placing it on the cookie mat. And then we're going to bake these in a 350 degree oven, 177 degrees Celsius, for about 15 minutes. All right, so we've pulled the cookies out of the oven. I ended up having to bake them a little longer than 15 minutes, so it was about 18 minutes that I cooked it, and they turned out looking okay. They were a little cracked, a little different than the non-vegan ones, but it was probably to be expected. So I'm gonna give it a try. It's a little more crumbly than I'm used to. The flavor is similar, a little more cakey than I'm used to, but it is good. You still get all those spices. The pepper kind of hits you a little bit towards the end, but those forward notes of the cardamom and the clove and the nutmeg kind of come through. It's pretty good. Overall, I can say that for a vegan gluten-free cookie, I'd make them again. But the cookie's not over yet. The next stage of this is the icing. Honestly, I think that's the best part of the entire cookie, and I am not an icing fan, but that icing combined with all those heavy spices really balance it out. So let's make the icing real quick. So whenever I make icing, I never really measure it. This is roughly about a half a cup of powdered sugar. I'm going to use the juice of 1 lemon. So to this, I'm going to squeeze my lemon juice in. I'm just putting that through a little sieve so that no seeds or additional pulp gets into it. Just gonna give it a little whisk. If you feel that it is too loose for you, you can add more powdered sugar. And if it's not loose enough, I would go ahead and add in a little of water. So now comes the fun part. We take our cookie, we dip it into the icing, and then we put it on a rack to let it drain off. Also, what I like to do is after I have glazed them, I like to take a little bit of icing sugar and just dust it over them. So from the deepest of my heart, I want to wish you all Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, season's greetings. Be kind to one another. That's the best gift you can give that costs nothing. Have a wonderful rest of your 2020, and I will see you in 2021, and we're gonna have a blast. Father God, we go party, we go fit. Wash your hands, you nasties. Hey. Excuse, where you think you're going, eh? I just want to tell you before you leave. Leave me a comment. Tell me something down there, some randomness. Good things, bad things, indifferent things. Just tell me something. Tell me something good. Ow. Tell me that you like me. Yeah. Dotish. So dotish.